Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show, and what a show it is today. I have Leksur with me. Say hello, Lex.
Hello.
I got Kodiack back. Say hello, Kodiack. And we have a few guests from the community, so we'll start with Baz. Say hello, Baz.
Hello, everybody.
Then we have Scribble with us from Pixel Debauchery.
Hello, guys.
We have Evoras from us, the mathematician in the Pantheon forums.
Afternoon all.
We got Saicred with us, always trying to kill Ronick, and we have Orsenfelt from Pantheon 101.
Hello.
And we also have two special guests with us today. From VR, we have Kilsin, community manager. Say hello, Kilsin.
Hey, guys.
And we have the big gun, McQuaid, Aradune. Say hello.
Hey, thanks for having me. So
we're here to talk about Pantheon, basically from January 2018 up to basically the end of July. A lot's happened since our last community show, which we did at the end of the year of 2017. And that's what we're going to sit down and talk about today. We also have Shai in the background as well, who will be taking a few questions towards the end to ask. Just make sure you tag her. She'll grab those questions. Any information regarding anything that's not already been released will not be answered. So just so you know, you can talk and ask questions about anything that's already been released, and the two gentlemen from VR will try and answer as best they can. If they can't, they'll let us know, and then we'll move on. So
we might not get to all the questions.
Yeah.
We're going to try, but there's no promises, unfortunately.
So let's start off this show, shall we, Baz? Do you want to go and get us into it? With
sure.
January 2018?
Yeah, let's jump right into it then. So January, pretty much the only notable thing that I could find was that Pantheon was voted the most anticipated MMO by MMORPG.com voters for the second year in a row, which I think that's significant. I think that's really telling of what fans of the genre want right now. It looks really good for the game. There was, much like last year, there was some discrepancy in some of the votes for other games, but as far as like bots for extra votes coming in, but MMORPG.com is really good about sorting that out, and you know the truth always prevailed, and Pantheon came out on top, which was really good to see.
Awesome.
As if there was ever any doubt.
So,
I know.
So did everybody here actually vote?
I did.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
Yep.
I did.
I was
Oh, Kilsin.
Not to put anybody on the spot.
Brad, we did it.
So, so in the January newsletter, BR also did a year 2017 in review. Brad, I think you were one of the people basically who spoke on this. Do you want to give us a quick, brief history lesson, the year in review 2017, how it was for you?
So 2017, not 2016?
2017, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you know, it's kind of it's really doesn't feel like this project's been going on as long as it has. It's been one big happy blur. Having people come together, joining the team, having the community spring up and really support us, and just having your guys' support as well as other investments come in that allowed us to grow the team significantly and allow us to tackle different aspects of the project we hadn't been able to. I mean, if you go back, you know, into the beginning of this project, I mean, we really started with nothing. And I've been involved with other startup companies, obviously, but we always kind of had some momentum already going. We already had a deal in place or a project that was farther along, and we really started from virtually nothing. And you know, one of the rules that you learn with a startup company is the first rule is survive to the next day. If you can just survive to the next day, you can bring the game that much farther along, and don't over worry about the future. you can, you look at the entire scope of creating a massively multiplayer game. It's a long-term endeavor when you look at it from 20,000 square feet or square footage. It's just it can be overwhelming, and it is overwhelming for a great many people. And so it really started coming together in 2017. We started getting more employees, like I said, more people helping out, the community growing. And to me, probably the biggest thing in 2017, well, there's several, but one of the biggest one was just it turned from a project into an actual game. Just like right now, in 2018, where we're at right now, I think it's turning from a project into a home, or from a game into a home. So you go project, game, home. And, that might sound a little cliche, but it's actually really important. You start having all these different parts and pieces, and they're all kind of disconnected, lots of moving targets. And you see that those kind of coalesce into a coherent project plan, and that gives you confidence. And then next, you actually have a project that becomes a game, and that's where the fun comes in. That was one of our biggest goals after the project came together, was to make it a game, to make it fun. All the features didn't have to be there. We started out with just the raw foundation of an MMO, and it turned out to be fun. I mean, that was the plan, obviously, but it was certainly very validating. And then, like I said, now it's turning from project to game to home, where the community's involved. We're in our third phase of pre-alpha, and people are running around and playing the game and having a blast, and really kind of identifying entertainment, community, friends, incorporating that into what Pantheon is. So that's kind of how I look at those three phases and how they came together.
Yeah. Cool. Kilsin, how was it for you? I don't remember if you had any words to say on that one, but obviously, you're a busy man yourself. So how was 2017 for you?
It was good, man. We showed the game off a lot too. Like, just touching on what Brad said, as growing as a game and a company was fantastic. Like, it was a massive, not like we needed a morale boost, but it was just huge morale boost for the team to see, the game showing on places, winning awards like at MMORPG.com, and showing off at a few events and some kind of business events as well. There was a lot of stepping stones for us as a company, as well as a game, and it was fantastic to see. The team was on cloud nine. Everyone was, just in a really good place, and it's just kept going. The community side of things has grown a lot. The support from you guys is just fantastic, and it just keeps getting bigger. We've expanded our numbers across all social media platforms, and including the testing forums and our normal official forums, and it's great to see. It just keeps getting better and better.
When did we do our first stream? Anybody remember off the top of your head? First stream?
Yeah, I remember.
The first one I saw, it was in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one I saw was right when they canceled EQN.
March 11th.
Yeah.
That's when we ran in, fought some orcs, and kind of ran around. Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest milestones, because it was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
To do that, kind of like you've shown screenshots and maybe some movies, but to actually show the game and kind of go open kimono and say, here it is, world, here's what we've been doing. But that quickly changed from terror to validation. As early as we were, we were worried about, it's like, hey, we've got to show something. We've got to really show the community out there, the skeptics, everybody, that this game's for real. But are we doing it too early?
Yeah.
And is the game too rough and how are people going to react to placeholder art and things like that, and temporary UIs and But we knew we had to do it, and I think we got the timing down just about right.
Yeah,
and and so that was hugely, went from terror to a hugely validating experience. Where and like Ben was saying, that gave us a tremendous amount of confidence and validation. And as you know, we are stubborn, we are tenacious. This is probably the most incredible team I've ever worked with. I've said that a bunch of times. I've worked with a lot of great people, but this team is just fearless. Yeah. But you know what? We're still human, and it still helps to hear the community and even people outside of the community react to watching the game and it being, you know, an overwhelmingly positive response and reaction. We still need stuff like that, and I think so. It was a big shot in the arm of adrenaline and confidence for us, and so that was a big deal.
Sure was.
Definitely. I mean, I've talked to almost, I think, everybody here about, you know, we've all chatted about this time and again. The way you guys have released information, be it the newsletter, be it the streams, be it advertisements, you know, you always seem to be spot on. You seem to hit that knack where everybody's getting anxious for something new to happen, and then bam, you knock something out of the park, and and so far it's always been something that's, you know, grown the expectations. It's basically lifted off. You know, we couldn't, you know, we thought when we saw the making of the city, can't get any better than this. Then you go and show us Black Rose Keep, you know, and it keeps on getting better and better and better. And you seem to have a knack for it, and you're doing a really great job.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I think that goes probably back to two things. One, just again, the team. Just, you know, every time we show off the game, whether it's screenshots or a big stream, what have you. The team is so proud of Pantheon, of the project. They always want to put their best foot, you know, forward and show everything off as absolutely the best we possibly can at that point. And so that actually got us more quality sooner than I would have expected. And again, it's also because this is a crowdfunded game, and we've had to, from the very beginning, show off a lot more about the game and where we're at, be a lot more transparent right from the beginning. Whereas, you know, in the old days, you'd get a publishing deal, and maybe you might announce the game, or you might wait for a while, but you sure as heck didn't show any screenshots, or you sure as heck didn't stream it until you were almost into probably all the way into beta. And that just doesn't work anymore. So you have to you just have to be more transparent. And I think it's that, and then also just our experience doing MMOs in the past. We've made just as many mistakes as we have done things correctly, and so we're pretty careful about trying to look at what we're showing off objectively, and making sure that there's enough new stuff that people can really, really look at and say, yeah, I can see where it was the last stream or the last newsletter, and I can see what they've accomplished since then. And that's probably the most important thing to us. Is it's not just about, you know, getting the word out about the game, although that's a big part of it. It's also making sure that the fans and the people that are already following the game, who already know a lot about it, that they can actually see measurable forward progress. Yeah, I think that's incredibly important. It keeps people are being very patient with us. I appreciate it, but they still, you know, I don't blame them a bit. They're human. They want to see that progress, and that's our plan. Is every time we kind of open things up to show a little bit more and more, and show you guys that we are executing, we are moving the game forward, we are getting it done. We're not rushing it, but we take everything very seriously, and so that's kind of been our approach.
Awesome.
So I think the hardest thing for a lot of fans is that, you know, they're so used to the way games have been advertised and released, where it's like they advertise it and it's release ready. And now with Pantheon, they have to realize that there's a lot of work to be done, and this work takes time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that like I was saying, that's a new challenge for us. In the past, you would keep the lid on everything for a lot longer, and you wouldn't really show a lot of the game until it was quite far along. And because of our, the crowdfunding and needing the community support, we've had to do that far earlier than we're used to and what we've done in the past. And like I said, that was a bit terrifying at first, but I think we're starting to hit a stride, and kind of get teams pretty much. They're used to the idea. They're not panicking as much. It's like, okay, we got to show some new things. What are we going to show visually, and what are we going to show spell effects wise, and how about classes and races and all the different things you guys are rightfully interested in. We're getting used to the fact that we've got to show everybody that progress.
Awesome. So also in January, we got the first newsletter that released information on crafting, harvesting more, gathering information and whatnot. So who here from the community, obviously, the guys from VR as well, but who here is excited about crafting?
I want to be.
Yeah, same.
I am, but I don't want to tease you guys too much, but there's
go on, just
like, we're starting to really dig deep into harvesting, and there's some cool stuff. I'll say one word: scavenging, and I am really excited about that aspect of harvesting. And instead of just going node to node and mining crystals or whatever, it's so much more. And I'll leave it at that, a little bit of a tease. But my main point is that I'm not a huge harvester crafter. I love seeing it in a game. I love interacting with crafters. But that's, I'm more of an adventurer, achiever type. But this harvesting stuff with the scavenging really has me interested.
Definitely. So that kind of tops off the January, and in February, Bazgrim got to sit down with Saithios and talk actually about crafting, didn't you, Baz?
That's a perfect segue. I would put myself in that category of people that in most games I'm not really into crafting a whole lot. I know this is one of those questions that Kilsin posted on social media not that long ago, and it's basically because most games don't really take crafting that seriously. It's always something that's kind of tacked on. The main game is the adventuring, it's the leveling up and the raiding and stuff, and then crafting is just kind of something that you do usually when you don't have anything else to do, and it doesn't end up being that important. But I could tell that Saithos in particularly really loves crafting, and it's something that he's kind of pouring his heart into, and it's going to be a very important part of the game, and that kind of intrigued me. So I'm as I'm slowly starting to get more into crafting, I couldn't help but take the opportunity to talk to him for about 45 minutes about kind of digging into the crafting a little bit more. Like you said, he had kind of done a couple articles in newsletters up to that point, but I kind of took that information and then we tried to peel back the layers even a little bit more. That video is up on my YouTube page, and I had a lot of fun doing that with him. I met Saithos at TwitchCon originally, talked to him about doing the interview then, and we ended up posting it in February. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. I mean, it's definitely very exciting, and I'm gonna have to ask everybody here, and we'll start with Evo. But the way the newsletter in January, when they looked at Pantheon harvesting and everything, it got me really excited. And even people that don't usually craft have got this incitement inside them, because there's there's a whole lot going on. It's not just, you know, hey, off you go, gather your wood, gather this, gather that. They've actually given it a lot of thought. They've looked at some of the skills you can grow and everything. So, Evo, you're excited about crafting, and what were your thoughts when you got to look at the harvesting newsletter?
Well, I must admit that I was actually pleasantly surprised to find even the word crafting this early on. As Bazgrim said, and the others have sort of added, often crafting is added in. It's just something to keep the people who enjoy crafting busy, and they'll just throw it in. It'll be something straightforward and simple. There'll be no thought about it. There'll be no sort of thought about how it affects the economy, how it affects gearing, and sort of players being able to utilize gear. All these sort of points rather that allow you to build a world. So if you're just building a game just for people to play for a few months, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to build a world that exists where the players affect the economy, the players change things, then you have to have crafting, you have to have harvesting, and it's got to mean something. And the fact that they're actually even talking about it this early on, but don't forget, this was just after pre-alpha had been announced, means that they actually want to have something that is integrated into the system. So looking through it, it was obvious that they had already put some thought into it and had given an overview as to what kind of thing they wanted to do. And that meant, okay, we actually have a darn good chance of getting something useful, a method of crafting that you can do and it will be impactful.
Definitely.
Which is what we want.
So I'm really glad to hear that, because kind of our methodology, our philosophy of development throughout this project has been get strong foundations in that we can then build all sorts of crazy ideas on top of. And the first thing we did was, which I kind of mentioned earlier, was, you know, get that MMO, get the adventuring, get the exploration, make sure combat's fun. We had to get that in first, and we had to make sure it was fun. I know you guys are keenly aware of what can happen to a game that maybe has had a lot of cool features and ideas, but lost that emphasis or that focus on fun. And then we moved right into harvesting crafting and said, let's develop another foundation that we can build upon and make sure that it's solid. And I think we've done that, and in fact we have done that. And now, like I said, I kind of teased you earlier, now we're layering some really unique and different pieces and parts on top of that core harvesting system that it's making me just, I want to play it myself, which again is, it's also not that typical. I'm the adventurer, the explorer, and I can't wait to mess with it.
So we know all about Saicred's love towards harvesting, crafting. So Saicred, how was it for you? You know, finally getting some actual information on the crafting and harvesting in Pantheon.
You know, I'll keep it short and sweet. I mean, for me, it was personally one of those deals where I was reading through it and I started to get this kind of like, you know, that again, I always talk about that childhood excitement when I'm thinking about Pantheon. So, you know, when I get excited about a game, I'm not even playing a game, when I'm thinking about it on a constant basis and I'm not even able to really get into it and enjoy it. So that type of thought for me, when I read through the crafting, when I read through what's possible, what's coming up, and then to kind of theory craft on that a little bit more, man, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to it. And to hear Brad talk about it makes me even more excited. So we'll leave it at that for now, then we'll come back to it when that time comes.
Yep. Awesome. What about you?
Reading through it, the main thing that stood out to me was that, like crafting skills, the harvesting skills increase as you go. So all throughout it says, or it has hints anyway, to, you know, you can skin basic animals and then you can skin magical animals. And that excited me. Yeah. Because it means it gives you a reason to do it from the start, I guess.
Definitely. So we all know, Leksur wasn't somebody who really liked crafting, but you've mentioned it a few times, Leksur. You're actually pretty excited this time around, right?
I am. And I don't usually care about crafting because it's usually like here's something to waste your time until you get to rating. And then it's pointless unless you are a potion maker, basically. But I get this sensation whenever I read updates about the crafting and such that the people that are behind the design for crafting in Pantheon really care about it, versus it just being an afterthought and thrown in. And I see the possibilities that could be there, and I feel like it's finally going to be leveraged for what it can be. So even though I'm not a crafter, I want to be a crafter.
Yeah.
I want to be part of that excitement because it's just more of the game that I get to experience.
And that actually ties in with something when I've talked about there's a vision for the game and then there's the grand vision, which is where we want to take this game, years and years after launch. And I've written about this here and there, but we want there to be more and more advancement paths. We want it, we're starting out with combat and adventuring, and that's the focus of the game. And we're going to make a great adventuring game. But we don't want it to end there. We want to attract more and more types of people to different play styles. And so what you're seeing with crafting and harvesting is just kind of the genesis of where we want to take it later on after launch, and eventually have it be part of its own advancement. We messed around with a little bit of that on Vanguard, and kind of bit off more than we could chew there. Some good lessons learned. But it did show the potential of having other ways that you can advance your character. The reality is simply, if you're making a virtual world, you're making a massively multiplayer game, especially one that's more sandbox and less on rails. Is that you fighting something or engaging in combat that can't solve all your problems. It can't be the only source for how you're advancing your character, because it simply doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in real life. It doesn't make sense in a fantasy novel. It doesn't make sense in any kind of context that if you just kill mobs over and over again, everything you've ever wanted to have happen happens. So crafting, harvesting, later on, touching on diplomacy, user-generated content, some of the things that we allude to on our website under our Pantheon differentiators. We're thinking very long-term about this and how we can layer in these different systems and eventually have them stand on their own. I mean, there'll still be interdependence between them, but they would actually be complete advancement paths that would be independent of each other, and you could focus on one, let's say one evening, and focus on another one on another. That's the kind of depth that we are determined to achieve with Pantheon in the long term.
Awesome. So Kodiack only came onto the show after I bribed him that we basically will have Brad here, and we're going to be talking about crafting, because if anybody's really excited about crafting, it is Kodiack. I mean, he's been on all the crafting shows that we've done, and he's really enthusiastic about it. So Kodiack, how was it for you finally getting information on crafting? And obviously, they've revealed quite a bit of information on their future plans in their streams and everything. How was it for you to finally have something?
Oh no, I think it's going to be. I mean, I'm hoping that it's going to be awesome. I just want it to be just as important, as a enchanter coming to a group with crowd control as you come into a blacksmith, and let's say you run out of Chinese stars or whatever, you can whip some up for your group. Having some type of purpose in the group, not just the kill time.
Exactly. Well said. So Scribble, what about you? Are you a crafter or less so?
I am not a crafter. I'm the guy who pays 40 platinum for the crafter to make me something. I'm not really the guy.
A customer.
So
that's good. Yeah, you're a customer. That's
the other side.
Yeah.
So the
world needs crafters and the world needs consumers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and that's the ideal setup if you're going to achieve that. Where even if you're not interested in crafting yourself, you are a consumer. You need what the crafters have to offer, and that's the ideal setup for sure.
Yeah. Baz, you got anything to add before I finish this one up? Baz?
I'm here.
He's gone again.
No, I mean, I think I pretty much added my thoughts at the beginning,
yeah.
So we can probably move on.
Cool. So I'll just quickly finish off for me as well. I mean, I recently answered the tweet that Kilsin put out there, and for me, crafting's always been something that's always been second rate, and I'm definitely on par with Kodiack here. No, I want to be able to log into the game and have a purpose as a crafter. Either I go into a city, I craft, and level myself up and make a name for myself. But I also want to have a purpose as a crafter in a group. It's a trade skill that I have with me. A soldier's not just a soldier; he has a trade with him. So and that's kind of hearing and reading what VR have been saying. It kind of gets me really excited. So yeah, that's my take on it. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
That's that's a really important point, really quick. Which you said you want to be the crafter as well. Once this game is really fully fleshed out over the years, the goal is to have just a long list of things you can do when you log in. All sorts of options that allow you to advance your character, but in distinctly different areas, with different methodologies, different game mechanics, a different feel, so that it's not. I mean, one of the biggest things MMOs face, the biggest challenges, is that Groundhog Day effect, where it's like, here I am doing the same thing over and over again, and we know it's out there. It's not going to be easy to wipe out Groundhog Day, but we're going to give it a shot. And as the more time we have, the more ways we'll be able to put in multiple advancement paths.
Cool. So, Baz, do you want to move us along?
Yeah, definitely. So, into March now, we had the first stream of the year with Co-Carnage, where they showed off Halnir Caves for the first time. And soon after that was, I think, pretty much the first stream, except for the first two streams that they did where it's just VR, right. The first stream without Co-Carnage and somebody else bringing in a new audience with Jim Lee. And I think that was kind of interesting because we had kind of gotten used to the co-streams that are very informative, but kind of a little bit more scripted because they're there to show off some new part of the game. But with Jim Lee, it had a very different feel to it. It kind of just felt a little bit more laid back. We just kind of got to see a group of guys just have fun playing the game naturally. And I think that I think exactly, and you could tell they were having such a great time too. And I think that was really cool to kind of see that different side of it.
That was also the stream where Jopper even said, if we were a real group. Yeah, it was definitely.
We still have that problem.
Yeah. So
that stream was a blast to watch. Honestly, that was probably one of the most fun streams we've had to watch personally.
Yeah. So.
Well, that also, let's not forget, we can't move on without mentioning Brad walking into the room with Nashura, and the door slamming down.
I was waiting for that. That was a highlight.
Yeah, that couldn't have gone better even if it was planned, and it wasn't. So
that was
those are things to look back on, you know, after the years of development, getting to the release, having a game out. You know, those are memories you guys are going to look back on, and you can be like, this, you know, this was an awesome ride from beginning to finish. You know, the community had laughs with it. You guys had laughs with it. I mean, you're already creating memorable moments for yourselves, for the community, and it's, you know, it's just really, it was just one of the most funniest moments. Like you said, you know, you couldn't have planned that. It was just
I'm glad to hear you say that too, because one thing that's always been so important to us is that we are true to ourselves, that we're true to the community, that we don't, you know, we're not creating an infomercial or tightly scripting some kind of messaging and narrative. We're in there, you know, maybe with Ko it's a little more serious, with Jim was a little more laid back, but, or even if you go back to the first ones we did ourselves, every time we've done one, it's just been us playing the game and having a good time. And that's always been our goal, is to be real. And are we the best players of our own game? No, of course not. There's already people in pre-alpha that, you know, far more skilled than we are. But that's cool. I mean, I love to learn new things, and you have that emergent behavior, and, you know, just stupid things like walk up behind and get trapped in the room and things like that. That's just, you know, I don't want to be thinking about the game while I'm streaming it, going, okay, what do we need to show off next? We need to show off these 5 things. We need to go here to point A to point B to point C. We don't want any of that. We just want to just play the game as it's playable right now, and share that experience with you guys, and hopefully that resonates.
Yeah. So
let you guys do all the discovering.
So we also got to sit down with Zippy Z and Kilsin back in March as well, to actually get into the details of the AI, and it was a brilliant sit down with Zippy Z and Kilsin. A lot of information, you know, was presented to us, explaining the thought process behind all that, what's going on in Pantheon, and we had a real blast sitting down with Kilsin and Zippy Z. He even got to show us his awesome. If you guys haven't seen the interview, go check it out on YouTube. The room that Zippy Z has is just one to drool over. I mean, it's full of Nintendo stuff. It's definitely worth the look at. But also in the newsletter, we got to have a look at Armor 101, and I'm going to bring that up on screen as well, because I want to share this with you, because you guys showed us some of the armor and what the process is to create it. And if we look at this armor, you know, you're showing off some screenshots with the different types of metals that you have and everything, but we look at this armor, the level of detail, it's just phenomenal how really well the design is, and the level of thought going into it. You know, if you look at the streams, you can actually see somebody wearing leather, somebody wearing metal, or somebody wearing chain. It was really cool to read through that and get some insight with all the information put out. So were you guys excited yourselves, Evo?
Well, yes. Actually, you mentioned the chainmail, and for me, I'm a little bit of a history buff, medieval certainly, and so when I see the armor here, it actually is reminiscent of medieval armor, leatherware and things like that. It isn't some fantastic come out of the East MMO with armor that is so, you know, over the top, overblown. This is realistic, and I presume this is going to be the sort of the opening versions, if you will, which are, I'm a starting level person, this is the first set of armor I've got. It's rusty, it's there, and it's functional. Yeah. And you know, hopefully later there'll be developments towards, and we've seen some pictures towards it, of the more higher end stuff that you'll get or aspire to getting when you get later on. But for me, it's the fact that they've actually decided to take a realistic view, and then we'll improve upon that as we move forward.
Yeah, definitely. Saicred, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that's being said here, but I guess one thing that really stood out to me is that I don't see the flashy, just craziness that I see in a lot of other games right here. It's more realistic, and I've said this on the tweet that went out about realism. I'm not huge into it, but I really love that they're doing this with the armor, because that means that when I do get that flashy piece, if that ever comes, it stands out. And it is something that blends into a giant crowd of lights, bright, this and that. It stands out. It has value to it. So I really like what they were showing.
And people will know that you earned it.
Yeah, I mean that's always been just really paramount to this game. Pantheon is absolutely an item-centric game. Yes, it's about leveling up. It's about doing quests, discovering the storyline, adventuring. But collecting items, weapons, armor, having those items have histories and context and names that actually mean something that are related to let's say the quest or the event that you were on, having it look different in game, so that if a higher level player walks by you, he or she's going to look that much cooler because they're farther into the game and they've had access to even better and better stuff. And that really, inspiring the lower level player when he or she sees that armor. That's really what these MMOs are all about. Yeah. It's that inspiration. It's like, I want to get that, dragon flint armor, or that, emerald chain, or whatever it might be. That kind of encountering higher level players and actually being inspired by what they've been able to accomplish, and then making a commitment to yourself that one day you too are going to achieve that level of greatness. That's just core to the very, that's what Pantheon's all about, is that kind of encountering each other and being inspired.
So we kind of like move along. Anybody want to add something towards the Armor 101? Or do we move on to April?
Move on.
All right then. So, Baz, bring us into April, which was a big, huge month for VR.
April was a big month, and right off the bat, the first week of April was PAX East 2018, and there's kind of a lot to unpack there. That was big for me too, personally, having attended it. But real quick though, some things about PAX East 2018 was that it came along with a limited time offer for a new pledge, a VIP level pledge that included pre-alpha access, and there was let's see, we had the community meet and greet on Thursday, which was really fun.
I just want to quickly jump in there because I caught a picture of Brad, and dude, thanks for wearing the shirt. Represent, and love goes back to you, man.
Yeah, I planned that for quite a while. It was kind of one of our first little, actually I guess it was our second Pantheon, unofficial Pantheon, but I had planned that for a while, and it was an honor to wear that shirt that night. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that was a great night. Everybody loves, that's what the game is ultimately about. It's such a community-centric game. So even though most people haven't even played the game yet, they still can bond over it. And so it really brings a lot of meaning when you can get everybody in the same room face to face and they're actually talking about the game. That was a blast. I personally had my first stream from the meet and greet on my phone, which was a lot of fun to kind of bring in the people that couldn't attend personally. We're still able to kind of feel a part of it for a little bit on Twitch. I had a great time doing that. That was a great night.
Yeah.
Then let's see, Black Rose Keep was also revealed for the first time at PAX. several people, including myself, had a chance to sit down. I played with Joppa for about 15 minutes, doing a quick run through Black Rose Keep, checking it out. That zone was awesome. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about Black Rose Keep.
It basically just blew my mind. You know, the first screenshots that they showed and everything leading up to it, and then, you know, actually showing it off at PAX East. I was just like blown away. The level of detail, the lighting effects, the shadows, it's just I was just blown away. Like, you know, I thought, hey, you know, they can't raise the bar any further, and they just, you know, went out there and did just that. It was really awesome to see that, especially the nighttime. I was like, you know, gobsmacked, honestly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, yeah, the nighttime effects. I mean, we hadn't seen that before, so seeing that for the first time was really something that caught my eye. I mean, right out the gate, when we saw the images come out, man, I was excited about that.
Definitely. So I posted, for those that are interested, I posted almost all of my gameplay session with Joppa on my YouTube channel as well. For those of you that don't know, I pretty much vlogged the entire weekend to try to cover it as much as possible. I had a blast doing that. Also, one of those videos is the class interview was kind of another highlight of PAX that I sat down with Joppa for quite a bit, and we really tried to start. That was the very beginnings of unpacking the roles and kind of the play styles of all the different classes, because up until that point there were a lot of classes that we knew almost nothing about, and so I really kind of wanted to crack the shell on the classes with Joppa, and he was very, very helpful with that. I had a really good time sitting down with him. I think he was really excited to talk about classes as well too. So
the big thing I got from that was the Bard. Bard came out.
Yeah.
That too, yeah.
Yep.
I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
Joppa did a great job, though. One thing that I loved about it was the fact that Joppa did a fantastic job with not giving all the details, because, like, for example, the Druid reveal we just had, like, he didn't really give us anything on that to go off of, just a little bit. And it more exciting when the reveal actually came out, for me at least. You know, I love that. The anticipation, the build up, the things, you know, that are coming still for, like, the Summoner, for example. Like, you know, we have a little bit on that, but really not all the details. So I'm just even more excited about the reveals as they come now, just by getting those nuggets.
Yeah, it was basically nice information, because it gave everybody a clear-cut vision of how the individual archetypes are going to be handled and how you're going to, you know, expect to engage with them. It even made my decision on, you know, my healer that I'm going to play, because I've always played a druid. You know, I played a warden in EverQuest 2, you know, and as soon as he started talking about how the healers are going to, you know, function amongst themselves and what their, you know, capabilities are going to be, I was like, okay, druid, here we go.
I'm not gonna lie, I jumped out of my seat once or twice when we were talking about Dire Lords.
Yeah, I'll even say, even as I was talking to Joppa about it, Dire Lord was one of those classes where I actually don't know if you remember. It was like the first time I was ever on the Voices of Terminus. I was talking about how I really wasn't that interested in the Dire Lord. Like,
yes, I remember.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure that's like seared into your brain. I don't know. It just was like, even though we didn't know anything about it at the time, I don't know. The thought of it was just like, it's just kind of meh. But then when I was talking to Joppa about it, I was like, dang, like that actually sounds really cool.
Well, you know, in all fairness though, I was pretty upset that the Claroid didn't get a mention.
You and your freaking Claroid.
It's next month's reveal.
Yeah.
That's it. Secret release.
Yeah. The interview, kind of going back to what you were talking about earlier, the interview was never really intended to be a comprehensive, like, in-depth analysis of all the classes, but I think it effectively kind of whet our appetites and just kind of give you an overall idea of kind of how all of the classes fit into the game. And like you said, Joppa did a really good job at giving us like just the right amount of information.
It needed to be a big picture. You know, it was like you know, now we're revealing them in more detail in the newsletters, and you know, back then it was even a little bit more high level. We wanted to give you guys as much as we could, but the reality is that we're still putting these classes in and tweaking them and adding abilities and changing how they work. And it really wouldn't be honest of us to go into a bunch of detail because it's subject to change. What we would be telling you today might change in the first phase of Alpha 1. And so that's always been a challenge to us. Again, we want to be as transparent as we can, but we want to manage expectations and we want to be honest and say, a lot of this stuff, it doesn't need to be figured out yet, and we have plenty of things that do need to be figured out, and there's no reason for us to fabricate or make up a bunch of details that are just likely going to change. So thanks for being patient with us in that area. And like I said, we try to tell you as much as we can, but we don't want to go down the wrong alleyway and end up coming up with a class that works very differently than what we described to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, from the very beginning, the early streams as well, people were always talking about the way the characters look, the graphics. That was the same issue. It's kind of the same issue you would run into if you gave us too much information on the classes. Because, you always mention it's subject to change, these are just placeholders, this is just to get us going, to get the ball rolling so you can actually see something. From day one you always mention that, hey, this isn't the final product, this isn't what the classes are going to look like and this and that, but people still kept on riding you on it. And that would be the same kind of effect that would happen if you went and blasted out all this information on the classes and all of a sudden, boom, you change something.
Right. And then you've got, for whatever reason, somebody who really liked the old plan, and now you're like, well, nope, we changed it, and there's just no reason to do that. Yeah. There's no reason to dig so deep that you dig yourself into a hole that you can't get out of. It's just something we've learned over the years. Again, be as descriptive as we can, but also be honest and say, what, a lot of this stuff. It's not even in game yet. We're not even messing with it yet. We're not even tuning it. We're not balancing it. So, we're not going to just sit there and make a bunch of stuff up. We're always going to be open with you guys.
So, Baz, you want to carry on?
Yeah. The only kind of other highlight of PAX East was that I had a chance to record, and to my knowledge, I have the only recording of Brad's panel on community impact. He sat down with a few other game developers.
Yeah, we're the only one that recorded it that we know of, anyway.
The only one I saw, but I really enjoyed sitting down and listening to that. So I don't know, Brad, if you have any more thoughts.
Yeah,
well, it was an interesting panel because, and this is fine. I'm not criticizing him, but the idea was if you wanted to do a panel just promoting your game, that costs money. But if you want to be brought onto a panel that's discussing, something bigger picture, where are MMOs today, where are they heading, big picture elements, then you can get on a panel and you can talk about MMOs, and you can I would slip things in about Pantheon as much as I could, of course.
Oh, I noticed.
But that was kind of the interesting thing about that was, it wasn't about Pantheon or any other MMO. It was more about these general concepts. But you know what? I really enjoy that stuff too. I'm always happy to do panels like that. I really enjoy panels. You won't see me do a lot of, traditional speeches. I'm just not the kind of guy to stand up there and assume that you want to know what I'm talking about. I'd much rather field questions and say, okay, I can confidently answer this because this person's genuinely interested in the question they asked. So I love panels and looking forward to doing more.
Yeah, cool. So that was pretty much PAX East. The rest of April was spent showing off Black Rose Keep to a bunch of different audiences. This again was kind of differs from the traditional Co-Carnage streams, and I think the strategy here was to just kind of cast a wide net and expose the game to as many different streams as possible in a short period of time. So that started off with Lasses, and Koopa Troopa 787 and the Hive Leader were the other ones that got in on that in April, and all took them through Black Rose Keep. And that was also the first time that that zone had really been shown off publicly to the rest of the community on Twitch. And I think overall the reception was very positive.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, we showed it at PAX first, and that was kind of a sneak peek. But then we said, "Hey, wait a sec. How about the rest of the community? They want to see this stuff too." So we took that opportunity to use a lot of the connections that we put together at TwitchCon, and as Baz said, bring in some different streamers, and hopefully begin this process of reaching out and reaching to some different communities that are, I mean, Ko is awesome. He's got a huge audience, but he doesn't speak for everyone or to everyone. And so you're going to see that more and more as we head down this long, continue down this long road.
So
you're going to see a lot more of that.
So Lex, that was also the month where
I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't happen.
The Welcome to the Light came.
No, didn't happen.
Where Leksur challenged VR to down the mini named legitimately, and we still plan to give away the Welcome to the Light T-shirt. Where actually even Lex apologized to all the paladins he's been given hatred as well. So that's got to be an honourable mention.
Fill me in on this more. I'm not totally familiar with it.
So basically, what happened? Go on, Lex. You explain it. It's your show.
We were watching one of the streams. I forget which one it was, and they were taking down that first mini boss. I guess. Can't remember her name. Yeah.
Oh, right.
They just couldn't do it at all, and then there was a bug that kept her from regenerating, and that's how they managed to kill her. It got to the point
we could kill her is when she bugged out. Yeah.
Right. So, thinking it was a safe bet, I've said on stream that a challenge to Joppa, that if you guys could beat it legitimately, I would apologize to every paladin on a public forum. And all of a sudden in chat I see Joppa saying challenge accepted, and I thought to myself, oh bleep.
and the thing is, the crazy thing is though, I said, as soon as this all came about, I was like, hey, this is a great way to do a giveaway. So, I sat down with a few friends of mine, and we designed a T-shirt. I'm just trying to find it. I'll link it as soon as I find it in chat. The T-shirt will be definitely given away. We haven't forgotten about it. We've just had a few setbacks, busy schedule and everything. But we had a T-shirt design, and as soon as I'll just link the image if I can quickly find it.
Yarn's always looking for ways to do a giveaway.
Yep.
So I'll bring it up on screen now. So this is basically the design that we came up with, and yeah, we had a blast taking that challenge. And I'll have to find that video. I don't think I've uploaded it yet to YouTube for everybody to watch. I'll have to get that video uploaded.
Oh God.
And
awesome
let everybody see it.
Yeah, that image was drawn by Dayhawk.
Yeah, Dayhawk drew that for us.
That's awesome, man.
Who is a very devout paladin, so I'm sure he took an enormous amount of pleasure drawing that.
Definitely.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. So move us into May, Baz.
Sure, yeah. In May, we had Kilsin sit down with the guys from the Condemned gaming community to do a Q&A. So, Kilsin, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, man, that was actually awesome. That was pretty in-depth, and Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They had some great questions. A lot of it was already kind of known to the community, but there was some little tidbits in there that we could share. But that was a lot of fun. I love doing things like that with you guys, and it had been such a long time between appearances for me. I had a bit of a break for a while, being so busy. But yeah, jumping on and chatting, and we don't usually do things like that either. That was because it was a big giveaway as well. They actually gave away a pledge, which was really nice of them. But yeah, to jump in on a guild so big and that's so passionate about the game was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was definitely worth a watch too. See, also in May we had Brad and Joppa talk about classes a little bit on the MMORPG.com GameSpace game show, which was another good watch. Yeah. So Brad, you remember that?
I do. That was a lot of fun.
All
right. So we're getting to the juicy bit. So go on, Baz. Go on, Baz.
I was just gonna say. I mean, that's kind of a perfect segue because they were talking about some other things, but they were talking about classes.
Yep. And that brings us
on that show, and that's kind of the perfect segue into the other highlight of May, which kind of kicked off the class reveals that we were talking about earlier, because like I said, the interview that I did with Joppa at PAX the month before kind of set the stage for these class reveals that were coming up, and it's pretty much kind of on a month by month basis throughout the whole summer, May, June, July, August, 4 months, 4 class reveals each by archetype. So there's 12 classes in the game, 3 classes per month, and that started in May with the melee DPS archetype, which includes the rogue, ranger, and monk. So what did you guys think about those reveals?
So I was blown away. You know, I've never, you know, I hate DPSing, be it ranged or be it, you know, scouts, melee DPS, but I was blown away. You know, with the reveal of these 3 classes. I mean, the one that stood out for me, and this is what I'm going to ask you guys as well, is the Ranger. You know, we've all heard everybody bash the Ranger for years on. You know, he's the guy that dies first. He's the guy that's got itchy fingers and evacs you. He's the guy who just generally messes up. You know, he's a tag along. He doesn't really have any function. But with the reveal, wow, is the Ranger interesting. I mean, the Rogue is pretty cool, but hey, I'm sorry, Kilsin, the Ranger out-trumps you by miles, man.
Yeah,
the Rangers
thing
looking pretty good, man.
I agree that was by far the most surprising and exciting part of that reveal. I'm looking it up now. I think it's called Steady Shot.
Mm-hmm.
That ability in and of itself was really interesting because of the wording about how it's targeted. It's not really traditional tab target. It's more, it kind of has more of an FPS feel to it, where if you're in third person mode, you kind of get this over the shoulder perspective, and you actually need to aim the shot. And I think that's just really different. I think that's one of the ways that Joppa is kind of trying to push the genre forward, and you know, not just have combat be this like slow, just kind of push a button and then you auto attack and then you push another button. Like it's not so far as going this like action / Twitch combat, but still kind of making it a little bit more involved. And that was really exciting. As somebody who likes both the traditional like EQ tab target combat, but I also like myself good action combat. I think that was kind of the perfect way to
adds a little bit of skill to the gameplay because you have to manually aim it.
You know, and we've honestly only just begun in this area. I mean, it's funny. You have that eternal argument of, you know, twitchy combat, you know, button mashing, that you see in some of the more, the more modern, the newer MMOs. And then you have the old school auto attack, tab targeting, and you get people really polarized on those two issues. They really want one or the other, and we're determined. I mean, fundamentally, it's not going to change. It's a tab targeting system, but we are determined to make it as action-packed, as involved, making location matter, timing, counterspelling, deflecting, being aware of what the mobs are doing, not just what abilities or spells you want to cast. We want to make it as involved as possible. And to be honest with you, if we made it Twitch combat, you couldn't even play the game. There's just so much stuff going on that what auto attack does is it allows you to not worry about the clicky, swing my sword. It gives you the time to, while you're swinging in the background, to make very tactical, meaningful decisions that actually matter during the battle.
Yeah.
And we haven't achieved that yet. We're not 100% there, but we're well on the way. And I think that was what you saw there was kind of the genesis of where we want to take Pantheon's combat. Yep, it's tab targeting, but it sure as heck isn't boring.
The thing is, though, as well, what also kind of stood out, and this is what Kodiack mentioned earlier on, with the crafters being able to actually do something while they're in a group adventuring. You have that. You've added that functionality to these classes. I mean, you read about the ranger who can harvest the lands and find food and drink and ingredients that he can use to make toxins and traps and stuff. But you've also got the monk who kind of generates chakra. And
right.
You've added this twist. It's not just your typical classes where, hey, I got these spells and off I go. You've actually got to think about what you're doing and constantly keep yourself focused, and you've actually got to do something, and it adds a complete different functionality to the group setup as well.
Yeah, it's really funny that one of the things that is kind of I find entertaining, I guess, is we've never hid the fact of what our heritage is and what games we've worked on or played in the past that we've really enjoyed and we're proud of. And we've never hid what kind of game fundamentally Pantheon is, what type of MMO it is. But that's the foundation. One of the things in game theory is once you've got a foundation set up and you've got rules and systems and you've got people expecting things to work a certain way because they're used to it, one of the most powerful things in game theory is you then break the rules. And you do things that are unexpected. So, this Pantheon is slowly but surely turning into a much less predictable game. And whenever earlier on, I would see it more. I'm seeing it less and less. It's like, oh, they're just making a clone or an emulator. It is so far removed from that, and it continues to move in these multiple directions that it's definitely going to be a game that stands on its own and surprises a lot of people, not just people new to the genre. It's going to surprise a lot of old school MMO gamers as well.
So let's go and quickly check to see if Kilsin can revive his Dream Crusher. Evo, which class reveal from the Ranger, Rogue, and Monk stood out for you the most?
I would actually have to say the Ranger again, for two reasons. Not because I plan to play a Ranger, although I probably will alter Ranger, I'm sure. It did two things. The first one is it showed that they weren't going for the old static tab targeting. It looked like, I would say, they put tactical back into tab targeting. So if you had to call it something, that's what I would call it.
Cool.
It was obvious that there was tactics that were going to be in there, and that's, to me, where you've got lots of games, whether they're tab targeting or whether they're Twitch, you just run in amongst 1,000 mobs and just make a mess, and it's all everybody dies. It was quite obvious here that you were having to think. Tactics was in there.
Yeah.
And the second thing I took away from this was they are sticking to this tenet that there will be roles, and each character will have its defined class, its class within that role, and will stick to it.
Yeah.
No bleeding and blending and different flavor of DPS. Each of these three are DPS, but they are different. They have what are clear different class roles. I mean, they fulfill the same role in terms of DPS, but they do it in absolutely different ways.
So we want the experience to be different. The end result may be the same. You solve the quest, you kill the boss mob, but depending on your group's composition, we want it to feel different. We want people to use different strategies and tactics, and really have a different experience depending upon what classes and races are in your group.
So, Saicred, what about you? Your standout class reveal in May? Ranger, Monk, or Rogue?
You know, with May, it was actually, I love the Ranger and I love the Monk, but I gotta say, I'll give it to Kilsin on this one. It wasn't really the Rogue class that stood out to me. It was one ability in particular, which is Length of Rope. The fact that an ability is going to be a standout ability or an ability they want to highlight that's going to allow you to adventure in different ways with something like the rope, dropping down a rope to climb up, some sheer wall face or something. I don't know about you, but when I saw the climbing ability in Amber Fate for the first time, I fell in love with just the idea of exploring and going up and climbing a wall and climbing up some rocks or just things like that, because that was the type of stuff that I used to try to do in old MMOs that you weren't allowed to do. So you'd randomly jump against the wall to see if you stuck. And just the thought that's actually meant to be there is really exciting for me. So I got to give it to the Rogue here.
So I'm going to quickly reveal everybody that Saicred had to say that. He's already in the bad books of one other guy from VR, so he can't have Kilsin on his back as well. But Orsenfelt, what about you, man?
For me, it was probably the Monk. Not because I play one, but I have a friend who always plays a Monk, so I look out for any game that has one. And I like the idea that he'll be kept busy, having to interrupt, spell casting or slow it down or pull mobs. It's good to see a Monk that's the way they should be, I think.
Yeah, back to basics.
None of them were Dire Lord. That's what stood out to me.
Come on, dude. Which one?
I will say that all three of them, there were aspects to each that interest me enough to, at some point, try them out.
You're going the diplomatic way with the VoT host with the most, right? Come on.
No, absolutely not, because I already know I got it in the bag. I got to be diplomatic.
Go ahead, what about you, man? Kodiack?
I was going to say pretty much the same thing. I'm an alcoholic, so I'm going to have one of each anyway. So it really doesn't matter.
Scribs?
Hey, I'm all for the Monk right now, especially the Scar. The Scar Monk, I didn't expect the Scar to be in the roundup with the Monk, so I think that's a good thing. I didn't see the Scar as a harmony race, so that's gonna be pleasurable.
And Baz, back to you.
Yeah, like I said, definitely the Ranger. I kind of mentioned briefly in the class interview that I feel like Ranger is traditionally been a class. It's been a class that has a little bit. It's had an identity crisis other than dying. But yeah, finding their role. They might have kind of ranged auto attack DPS, but I feel like the reveal really showed that the Ranger is definitely going to be a class that is desirable. I think they have a lot of really unique, like with their foraging stuff that they can forage. Like there's just so many little things in there that I think are going to be useful. And like I said, I will correct myself. I said it was Steady Shot. It's actually Silent Arrow. That is the ability. And I cannot wait till the first time where like I see a mob fleeing at like 1% health and I land that carefully aimed shot. That's going to be so satisfying.
So here's an idea, VR. Why not create different names for the classes for each race? I mean, we already have the name for the Ranger, Monk, I'm sorry, for the Monk from Xmoko in chat. Scar Monk equals Skank.
I'm pretty sure not many people are going to want to go for that one.
Does that mean no monk is Skank?
So let's move on.
I hope if we do head in that direction, we can do a little more in depth than that. But that's pretty funny.
To have a skank and a gank in your group, I don't know.
Yeah.
Skank and gank.
I don't know if we need to go there yet. Maybe on the 10th expansion or something. But anyway.
So that brings us, June. In June now, another VoT Q&A with Joppa and Astrulame kind of talking about lore a little bit. So how was that?
Oh, it was awesome to finally sit down with Joppa himself and to actually get Astrulame on. Kilsin helped set this all up for us, and we had some internal help with questions for them. I mean, Monster Koala did a fantastic job for the questions on in lore, and it was really great. So people that are really interested in the lore, even though he didn't really want to reveal too much, he gave enough information on some of the questions that were put out there. And Joppa in general, with the general questions that we had, I had a blast. It was wonderful having those guys. I mean, it's always great having anyone from VR on. We've had, I think this is now your fifth time, Kilsin, right?
Yeah, man, I can't stay away. I love it.
He's a few more shows away from being like me and wondering what happened to his life.
Yeah, he's like stuck on the VoT show. He's like, oh god, I'm part of the team now. What the hell?
How did this happen?
I can certainly tell you guys this, without exaggeration. Been on a lot of games, had some great story and lore behind it, but what Justin and the other guys are doing, the sheer depth, it just adds so much to the world. Having that history there, and then there's reading up about the game, and there's getting excited about it, and then there's actually jumping into the game and having so much more of the story revealed in a natural way through questing, through the perception system. It's just unprecedented, guys. I don't think there has been an MMO that's come close to the attention to detail that's being taken in this area. It's usually one of those areas that's kind of on the sidelines, and it's not on the sidelines with Pantheon.
Yeah,
it's a major focal point. It's key to understanding the game. It's key to understanding who you are in the game, who other people are. It really matters.
I mean, the interview in the whole got me really excited. Sitting down and talking to Justin and Joppa. Like you said, Brad, the depth and the value that you guys have put into the lore and how important it is going to be for the game, not just from the background, but for the involvement of the game. I mean, I know in the perception system, just sparks an area you guys can go absolutely mental with when it comes to the lore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say for me, lore is kind of like crafting, and it's one of those things that I usually just kind of get around to when I don't have anything else to do. It's kind of a secondary objective. Like, it might be interesting, but I don't really dig into it. But it's very clear already that in Pantheon, again, because they take it so seriously, I realize, like, whoa, this is something that I need to pay attention to.
You really don't have a choice. If you do. If you don't want to participate in any of that, you don't have to. We're not forcing you. But if you do start digging around and doing these quests and trying to understand what's going on, you have no choice. It sucks you in. It's that immersive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So let's see. June, we also, in the newsletter, it was announced that Jimmy Lane joined the team as the new world builder, which is always good to see the team grow. And also in the newsletter, the next set of class reveals was the tank archetype. So we got the Dire Lord, Warrior, and Paladin. Take it away, Lex.
Yeah, Lex. We'll give this one to you. So which one of these three?
Are you really sure you want to do that?
Hey, we have a deal. Remember that T-shirt? I will print 20 of them. I will print 100 of them. I will give them to everyone.
I will say, as a career tank, it's nice to see and understand how your counterparts work. And I was very, very happy to see that every tank was unique. There wasn't like the amalgamation of where everyone has common ground so that nobody can complain about it. You know, to me, Dire Lord seems like it's going to be highly skill based. I love the fact that it feels aggressive, which is exactly what I want out of it. Paladins really have that feel of almost a protector, which, you know, is key for them. And Warriors, I love the fact that they actually have utility now for a change. You know, I mean, that shocked me. I was shocked.
So, Lex, out of those three classes, which one was the standout one for you?
Dire Lord. but I will say that Warrior came in a very close second.
So, we'll go around again. We'll carry on with Kodiack this time. Kodiack?
Okay, I'm paying attention. I'm not a big tank person anyways. You know, I usually play support or healer. But out of all of them, I'd probably Warrior. I like the fact that they're just not just going to be, you know, just a standard Warrior. They're going to have more use.
Yeah. Scribble?
Dayhawk paid me $20 to say Paladin.
Baz, what about you?
I think I gotta agree with Kodiack. I think the Warrior is the most interesting and also the most surprising because, you know, you're not just gonna auto attack and then throw in like a kick or a bash every once in a while. It seems much more involved. It seems important, especially the war banners that they have. I think are going to be really key. I think there's going to be a lot of this strategy involved, and also the battering ram ability that allows you to burst through certain parts of the environment that are breakable. I think that my mind kind of goes crazy thinking about all the different ways that could be.
We need a warrior here. We have a war to break. Evo?
I actually would, again, I'll go for the warrior. Mainly because of the shields. The wall of shields, shield blocking type things. The idea that perhaps, you know, 2 or 3 warriors together actually have some massive impact. You know, and I can see this later in a raid scenario where there might not be one main tank, but 3 warriors holding a line.
Saicred?
Right.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the exploring. The battering ram for me, you know, really draws me in for the warrior. So I love the thought of actually having abilities that will help you explore. I really do.
Orsenfelt?
I'm not really a tank player, so let's even it out and say Paladin.
Alright, so I was actually pretty disappointed in the Paladin. Because no dual shields. If you had dual shields, it would be a Paladin. But
that's the only way to make Paladins worse.
So my vote goes to Dire Lord. I'm sorry, just because of the dual shields. I had so many hopes for that. It will be a thing.
No, it won't.
So this brings us now to the month of July.
Yeah. Present day. Was announced that Jason Wyman rejoined the team as a senior programmer, which is pretty cool because I think he was on like the original founding team of the game. So to have him back is really exciting.
Yeah. And
also, the Fires of Heaven Guild did a Q&A with a few of the guys from VR, actually. Ben D, Joppa, and Convo sat down with Fires of Heaven to do a pretty lengthy Q&A, just in text form, but there was it's worth a read because there was actually several little interesting tidbits of information there from VR. And Scribble, I know you and I just recently did a little bit of a talk about this too.
Yeah, that'll come out tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to review the AMA with Fires of Heaven, Sweenig, and Bazgrim, and Leksur's there, and myself. So it should be fun.
Cool.
Yeah, just because I'm going to be there, don't hold that against it.
No, we had a good time kind of digging deeper into the step by step, every question, kind of analyzing it a little bit and extracting what we can out of it. That was a good time.
Almost forgot. Brian from Defend the Knight's going to be there.
Yeah. And let's see. So that brings us to the most recent set of class reveals, which is the healers.
Only cleric, important reveal.
Cleric, Shaman, and Druid. That's where we're at.
Definitely. Who wants to start it off? Well, go on, Baz.
I think Druid. Druid was the most interesting for me, actually, which sounds like blasphemy as a longtime cleric player, but the Druid just surprised me. Again, like sometimes it might only take one ability that I've like never even some mechanic that I maybe have never played before in a game, and then I just see that one ability and I was like, I need to try that. Like I will play this class just to try that. And the first one that comes to mind with the Druid is the Vine Woven Bridge. And again, it kind of goes into with what Saicred was talking about earlier, like abilities that just allow you to explore and almost like change the terrain of the game and go places where you feel like you shouldn't be able to go. The fact that the Druid can just kind of conjure a bridge to go over a gap is really interesting to me.
Evo?
Again, actually, the Druid. I don't actually have never played a Druid in any game before because I don't really find they've never grabbed me. But I looked at some of the abilities. For me, things like upheaval, like a mini earthquake, and calling lightning, and the very fact that they've even gone to the extreme that it's more effective if the enemy is wet. And I'm thinking, okay, so how do we get them wet now? And it's just. It does sound. I play utility, and it does sound like there's quite a strong thread of utility in there that I could get my head around.
Saicred?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I love the Druid and I love the Cleric, but the Shaman's really the one that stands out for me. And I'm gonna be honest. It comes down. I love the Woven Bridge. Don't get me wrong, exploring, but for some reason, when I hear the rite of passage that they have for the companion at level 10, when they talk about that ability, that little potential there that it comes with that, I don't know. I think there's a lot that can come off of that and lead into later on down the road. So I'm really excited about seeing more come about with that and hearing as well with the Shaman. So Shaman for me.
Lex?
I am not a healer whatsoever, but as a tank, I think it pays to know how all the healers work. I hate to jump on the bandwagon, but I'm going to have to say Druid.
Yeah, Druid all the way. Same here for me. I mean, I love the imbue traits that they have. Hawk's Grace, Panther's Claw, Blackwall's Swiftness, all that. Adding, that little twist to it. And the facts, basically, reading... When I read the newsletter on the healers, I mean, Cleric, what I've seen so far, pretty cool. But, it helped me finally decide what class I want to play, and it's Druid all the way for me, definitely, hands down. Thank you, Jopper, for turning the Druid into something absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to finally getting my hands on that thing sometime. Kodiack!
It's going to be Shaman, so you guys all thank me when I'm spirit walking to your corpses and bringing them all back.
Yeah, all you Druids are lost.
We're not all playing Rangers.
Yeah.
I mean, we do know Druids that get stuck in trees, don't we, Lex?
Yeah. Oh,
They get lost in the forest, they hug the trees, they get distracted.
Some of them love the trees a little too much.
Right, and the shaman will get you through it all, so... But seriously, though, it's great to hear the excitement about the Druid, because that's something that's a class that's really, they're all important to us, but just really making the Druid work, making him do some really cool things outdoors, but then also figuring out how to, make him not suck in the depths of a dungeon as well, and have his own feel and approach to things, whether it's exploring a forest or at the top of a tower. So I'm really glad to hear that you guys are so excited about the Druid. So am I.
Scribble, what about you?
Ogre Druid, man. What? That's kind of, it's not like the Lord of the Rings Druid. It's definitely inspiring to me, because I play the darker character, so that's interesting to me. That's definitely.
So we've basically reached the current point. There have been a few announcements on Twitter. Anybody have the dates at hand? Baz, Saicred?
August 5th, is that the date you're talking about?
Yeah.
For Co Carnage.
Yep.
Yeah, so Co Carnage released a announcement on his stream the other day that he'll be joining Pantheon. I think it's August 5th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a stream. And then the Hive Leader actually just announced as well that he'll be doing his on the 6th. And I do not have the time in front of me. I don't know, Baz, if you have that.
6:30 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there's two streams coming up. Looking forward to those.
Yeah, make sure you tune in on those, because we've been getting a lot done for pre-alpha for ourselves. Move the project forward, and lots of new art, character models. Avenger's Pass. It doesn't even feel like it's the same zone. We've done a major revision to that, and it's just like a brand new zone. And we really look forward to sharing with everybody else what we've been testing internally.
Cool. So before we finish off, do you guys have 2-3 minutes for some questions? Have you got any, Shy? Before we even get into that, do you have any?
Do. Any questions? One or two?
Yeah, we'll do one or two.
I've actually one or two. Okay, let's see.
1 or 2 dozen.
I was kidding.
Let's see. Well, in the nicest way possible, Snackmaster B would like to know if it's possible to obtain Aradune's sword in game.
Say no, Brad. Don't let him.
Over his dead body.
That'll be
arranged.
That'll be one of those. That'll be one of those myths. That it's in game.
if there is, it's really got to be done. It's got to be done in the right way. It's got to fit into Aradune's history in the game and stuff. So we'll see. I can't promise it by launch, but people do seem to want the greens.
Avenger.
Maybe it'll be one of those GM event things where there's just a 50-foot tall Aradune and everybody has to raid him.
Hopefully it'll be a little more creative than that, but we'll see, guys. We'll see.
I can picture it now. There'll be the stereotypical Aradune tombstone, but the sword will be stuck in it.
Yeah, who can pull it? Who can pull the sword from the stone?
Oh God!
And then you become the king of Pantheon.
Yep. You're undefeatable. You have GM powers. You can't die.
No, you guys are coming up short. No.
He's like, you have not done me justice.
If it happens, it'll be much cooler than that.
Well, for the second question, #Science wanted to know if I could ask Brad if he thinks that we can expect homage to how EQ handled gearing up, where you knew who had what item and what it took to get it. And will there be items like rubicite, different robes, mithril gear, yaks, etc.?
Absolutely, yeah. As I think I mentioned right in the beginning of this little chat, just how item-centric and item-focused the game is, how important it is to us that when you look at another player, you should be intrigued. You should be like, gosh, what is that? What is that mace that he's holding, or what is that armor that he's wearing? And having items have context, have meaning, have even lore behind them, have them involved in a lot of the epic quests, things like that. So if you enjoyed that and that item centricity and even situational gear that you saw in a lot of the earlier MMOs, that'll definitely be coming back.
Cool. And you guys don't have any time for any other questions, correct?
Oh no, we have a few more minutes, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let You Live wanted to ask if there will be raid mobs in game at release.
Well, get that one back.
Gray area.
Yeah.
So
we don't want to give too much away on that. We will have some end game content in that, but yeah, we don't want to spoil anything that we have planned.
We've always been very upfront that this is primarily a grouping game. It's about getting together with 5 or 6 of your friends and really working together as a team and having that camaraderie and that being rewarded for employing the right tactics and working together. But of course, there's times where you just want to log in really quick, get something done. So there will be solo content in the game, and then conversely, there's a lot of players that like to get together in larger groups and take on some really challenging content that require essentially multiple groups coming together and linking themselves into what's commonly called guild content or end game content. But it's really important for us, at least at this point, to stress that Pantheon's a grouping game, and so most of the effort and time and resources will be focused around just having an absolute blast with you and your buddies.
Yeah, we will definitely have raids without question. Just not sure what we've got planned for launch, but it's definitely an area that we'll build on. We don't expect anyone to be max level by launch, so
there will definitely be something there that will eat your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Be it a 52-foot Aradune.
Martini would like to know, do we know when the streaming program will start or an approximate timeline?
That is underway at the moment. So we're the cogs are kind of turning for that right now. We haven't got anything to kind of release yet. We have a surprise coming up very soon. I can't really go too much into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but just be ready for something.
When you say surprise, does that mean Madaki's going to jump out of a cake?
We tried to organise that, but he didn't have anything appropriate to wear, so we put it on hold.
Poor Madaki. I give him such a hard time.
I think we say that it's something we're really excited about. It's something we've been planning for quite some time. It's something we've been working on in the background, but it's not just something that's going to turn on. It's going to be something that we work our way up to and do it right. So we're doing some cool new stuff with some of the next streams that are coming out, and you'll see us heading in towards that direction of getting more and more streamers involved and hopefully reaching more and more different audiences and demographics.
Yeah, we will be starting up something soon, and a definite soon, not a soonish or a soon team. It is actually soon. But I just don't want to spoil it because it's something. Yeah, Ben Dean's been working a lot on this too, so yeah, look forward to that coming up shortly.
Definitely.
Okay. Do we have time for? I've got 3 left. Do we have time for those?
Let's do all 3. Let's do all 3.
Okay. Withrow would like to ask if the bloodline aspect has been taken off the table. Not the progeny, but the bloodline aspect.
I wouldn't say off the table. It's just not what we're focusing on right now, given where we're at in development. So there's really not a lot to talk about at this point until we get deeper in. So I'll just kind of have to leave it at that.
Cool. Namamt would like to ask if harvesting is going to be somewhat competitive. If you could go into that.
Can't go into much more than what I already teased at. is it competitive? I mean, I think anytime you're gathering resources and trying to get the right resources that crafters will need to be able to craft components together and make products. There's going to be some healthy competition. There is always a good thing, but that we've said what we can say about harvesting at this point.
Hey, harvesting is always competitive. Do not get near my damn tree. This is my tree.
We're going to have words, Yarn, about whose tree belongs to who.
That's my damn rock.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that, buddy. We'll discuss who harvests what. Prune City would like to know, can we ask when you plan on updating the website? And that's the final question.
We're working on it. We want to do it right. We want to do a pretty big overhaul, and we've just been so focused on the game. We are still a smaller company. We've been growing quite a bit, but we don't have a ton of resources to throw at the website right now. But there's a lot of good planning going on, and as we bring in more resources and funding and grow the team in a good, steady way, not rushing things. I think you'll see us not just be working on the game, but working on other aspects too, like the website.
Cool. So
yeah, there is a lot being done, but also just quickly, there's a lot of work, like with back-end database hooking up to e-commerce and stuff like that. Like it's a lot more in depth than
it's
I think people realize.
It's not just a refresh. We're really redoing it so that it has the system there has the depth and the ability to last us a long time. We don't want to just slap something together really quick. This is going to be done right.
Exactly.
So, and hopefully, things done right may take a little bit longer, but usually I found in life they're worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So before
it's not like it's one of those engine or Squarespace sites. It's a handcrafted.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I spent 5 years making websites. It takes a while if you want to do it right.
Yep.
It does. And money and manpower and everything. It's big.
Yep.
All right, so before we let these gentlemen go, we have a few content creators on this show as well. So we'll start with you, Baz. Your final words and where people can find you.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube.com/Bazgrim TV and on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all as Bazgrim TV, and very soon on Twitch.tv/Bazgrim TV. Really looking forward to that, and yeah, just I love being on this show and hanging out, especially with so many different people today. Had a blast, and trust in Pantheon.
Nice. Scribble.
I just want to say that all these content creators are great. I listen to everybody. I log into Twitch a lot. Also, Kilsin and Brad, of course, that's a big deal. I can't believe they're on the show here. It's been great.
It's been fun. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Saicred.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, Scribble, hang on. Give us a second. Scribble, where can people find you? You didn't even mention that.
Yeah, patreon.com/pixeldebauchery. You can see me there. And on pantheonradio.com.
Cool. Saicred?
Yeah, of course. So I'm pretty much everywhere Ronik's not. So as long as Ronik's not there, then you can probably find me somewhere around that place. No, I do want to say, so thank you, Kilsin and Brad, for joining us tonight, and then everyone else. I've had a blast with these guys. It's so fun getting to know the community and the people that are involved in these shows and others, and so it's just really it's an exciting time. But yeah, you can always find me on Twitch, and that's just Saicred with an I in there.
Evo?
I'm not going to do anything as far as publishing until the game comes out, maybe, But for the meantime, I'm happy enough to help out on the forums, putting in think pieces about whatever flavor of the month, and doing some work on the wiki, which is always good fun. And otherwise, I wait for the next installment of whatever's coming up.
Cool.
A special thanks to Evo and Baz too for their help on the forums, your communication, and a lot of other community members too, but especially Baz and Evo. You guys stand out and do help me a lot. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
You're welcome. And I'm a huge fan of Evo, by the way. Like I've for a long time enjoyed interacting with him on the forums. He's probably one of the most thoughtful posters on the forums. So if you're ever on the forums, make sure you notice his name. So
absolutely.
Orsenfelt.
Yeah, it's been great to be here. Thanks, Brad and Kilsin, as a surprise. I'm at Pantheon101.com, Pantheon101 everywhere else on social media. Yeah, that's it.
And we've
big thanks to Orsenfelt too. Sorry to interrupt, mate. He's one of the mods on the Reddit Pantheon site too. So thank you very much for your help there too, man.
Yeah, no problem.
So, Kodiack?
Well, I'm here part of the VoT guys, so this is where I would be.
Would be.
Would, yeah.
When I'm not working. When I'm not working, my butt off.
My life's not kicking them.
Yeah, so pretty much, we've had pretty much everybody on the show. We've done pretty much an interview with everybody. We just need to get Scribble to sit down with us at some point. But we've had everybody on, and again, it's a blast to sit down with you guys. Maybe we can plan something out for the end of the year. Brad, Kilsin, thanks for joining us.
Hey, you know what? Thanks for having us. I just want to say, I mean, like I said, the Pantheon team, just the best team I've ever worked with. So much passion, so much energy, so many great ideas. The community, VoT, you guys been there, right from the beginning, supporting us. All the other community members, whether they're on forums or AMAs or wikis or whatever, doing streams, what have you. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. And then certainly the community as a whole, supporting us financially, spreading the word about the game, and just the patience that you guys have shown us, the faith that you've had in us, and continue to have in us to have the privilege to make this awesome game. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all you guys. So thank you big time.
Yeah, well said. Thank you very much, guys. Very much appreciated.
Yep,
also, let me know if you guys, all your channels too, if you've got something on Facebook or Twitter or something, make sure you tag us so I can see it and then I can repost and give you guys a bit of love too if you're doing anything Pantheon wise. Yeah,
same here. Ben does the official tweeting. I kind of do the unofficial tweeting, but between the two of us, we want to help you guys out. When you guys put up a video or something, let us know so that we can retweet and put on Facebook and get as many eyes on us as possible. It helps us all. Gets the word out, gets people excited, and we definitely want to help out in that area.
So next week will be my final show for the month of August. I'm basically currently in the middle of a huge move that turned into a huge remodeling and demolition work. So next week will be my final show. Then Josh will be taking over with Lex for me throughout the whole entirety of August. So just to give you guys a heads up, I will not be around. But Leksur and Josh will be there. Maybe Kodiack can help out as well if he has the time. And we'll see you all next Friday where we sit down actually and we talk about, what was it, Lex? Why bother with Pantheon?
That's right.
Good topic.
There's a lot of older MMOers who kind of have given up on the genre completely. I mean, a lot of my old guildmates have completely given up on the genre. And that's the purpose of the next show is, why would you bother to come back for Pantheon? Let's find out.
Yep, so with that, everyone, it was great having everyone on. You're always welcome to come back. Just hit us up. You see a topic that we're doing, you want to get involved, you have a topic, you want to do something, collaborate, reach out to us. And goes for the chat as well. People in chat, you want to join us, do an interview with us, sit down with us, just reach out to us through our Discord channel or on Twitter. That's where you'll reach us mostly. And with that, everyone, it was a fantastic time, a great night, and thanks again to everyone for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next Friday, same time, same channel.
Good night.
All right. Good night, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great weekend.
Later, guys.
Be safe, everybody.
Have a fantastic weekend.